Captain Kim Yuan wiped the sweat from her forehead as she knelt beside the strange crystal formation. The morning sun on planet Kepler 4 for 2b was hotter than expected, and her team had been working since dawn. She looked at the ancient ruins around them and wondered what kind of beings had built this place thousands of years ago. "Captain, you need to see this," called Dr. Park Min-ho from across the dig site. He was their best scientist, always excited about new discoveries. His voice sounded different today, more worried than excited. Ji-won walked over to where Min-ho was carefully brushing dirt away from what looked like a large, smooth stone. But as she got closer, she realized it was not stone at all. It was made of some kind of metal that seemed to glow from inside. "What do you think it is?" asked Lieutenant Lee Sora, the youngest member of their team. She had joined them only 6 months ago, fresh from the academy on Earth. "I am not sure," Min-ho replied, running his scanner over the object. "But look at these readings. This thing is still active after all these years. It has power running through it." Guan frowned. Their mission was supposed to be simple: study the old ruins, take some pictures, collect samples, and go home. Nobody had told them they might find working alien technology. "Is it safe?" she asked. Min-ho shrugged. "The radiation levels are normal. But Captain, this could change everything we know about this planet. This could prove that the aliens who lived here were much more advanced than we thought." The object began to pulse with soft blue light. The team stepped back, unsure what to do. Juwon reached for her radio to call their ship, but before she could speak, the object suddenly blazed with brilliant white light. The light was so bright that all 3 humans had to cover their eyes. When it faded, the object was now humming with energy. Strange symbols appeared on its surface, glowing and changing rapidly. "What did we do?" Sora whispered. "I think we woke it up," Min-ho said, his scanner beeping wildly. "Captain, this thing just sent out some kind of signal. A very powerful signal." "Signal to where?" Guan asked, though she already feared the answer. "Everywhere," Min-ho replied, staring at his readings. "Captain, this signal just traveled across the entire galaxy. Far across the galaxy, on a massive warship floating in the darkness between stars, an alien creature received the signal. Admiral Grixtel was not like humans at all. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. The species, the Corvani, had been conquering other worlds for over 1,000 years. Admiral called his communications officer. "We have intercepted a transmission from an unknown world." Grixtel looked at the data on his screen. The signal came from a small blue planet in a system the Corvani had never visited. "World reveals itself," he said with a cruel smile. How convenient. The Corvani Empire had conquered 47 different worlds. Each time it was the same story. It would find a peaceful planet full of smart but weak creatures. The aliens would try to talk, to make peace, to find some way to avoid war. But the Corvani did not want peace. They wanted slaves and resources. "Prepare." The conquest fleet, Grixtel ordered. 200 ships should be enough for this Earth place." "Yes, Admiral," his officer replied. "Shall we follow standard procedure?" "Of course." "Land, demand surrender, enslave the survivors." Quick Grixtel had done this so many times before. He expected this Earth to fall, just like all the others. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Choi Daeho was having a quiet night shift at the Deep Space Monitoring Station. He was drinking coffee and reading reports when every alarm in the building began screaming at once. "What is happening?" He shouted over the noise as his staff ran to their stations. "Sir, we are detecting multiple large objects approaching our solar system," reported his sensor operator. "The computer says there are over 200 of them." Daeho felt his blood turn cold. "How long until they arrive?" "At their current speed, 21 days, sir." "Are they natural objects? Asteroids, maybe?" "No, sir. They are artificial. They are ships, sir. Very big ships." Daeho reached for the red phone on his desk, the one that connected directly to Earth's military command. He had never used it before, and hoped he would never have to. Today was different. "This is Deep Space Monitoring. I need to speak to Fleet Admiral Han Seung-min immediately. We have a code red situation." As the phone rang, Daeho looked out the window at the peaceful Earth below. People were sleeping in their beds, going about their normal lives. They had no idea that in 3 weeks, everything might change forever. Back on Kepler 44 to be Captain, Giwan and her team stared at the still-glowing alien device. They had no idea what they had just done. They did not know that their simple archaeological mission had just announced humanity's location to one of the most dangerous forces in the galaxy. The cry for help had been sent. Soon Earth would need to answer with everything it had. Fleet Admiral Han Sungmin stood in the command center deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. The room was filled with screens showing information from across the solar system. Officers moved quickly between workstations, their faces serious and focused. 21 days had seemed like a long time when they first detected the alien fleet. With only 3 days left, it felt like no time at all. "Show me the latest readings," Sungmin ordered. Lieutenant Colonel Park Sunho pulled up the data on the main screen. 200 ships, Admiral. Each one is about 3 kilometers long. They are bigger than anything we have ever built. Sungmin nodded slowly. He had been preparing for this day for 30 years, ever since he was a young officer who believed that humanity would eventually meet other species among the stars. Most people thought he was crazy. They said space was too big, and aliens were probably peaceful anyway. "Sir," called Major Kim Ha-jin from her station. "We are receiving panic reports from around the world. People want to know what the government plans to do." "Tell them we are handling the situation," Sungmin replied. He turned to face the room full of officers. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to activate Protocol Thunderstorm." The room fell silent. Protocol Thunderstorm was Earth's most secret military plan. Most world leaders did not even know it existed. For decades, while people thought Earth's military was focused on small conflicts and peacekeeping, the real work was happening in hidden bases across the solar system. "Send the activation codes," Sungmin ordered. Across the solar system, things that had been sleeping for years suddenly came to life. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors opened in what looked like empty craters. Weapons platforms rose from hidden underground bases. Their sensors scanning space for targets behind Mars in the asteroid belt. Rocks that had floated peacefully for decades suddenly powered up. They were not rocks at all, but disguised battleships. Waiting for this exact moment, Admiral Yoon Ha-jin commanded one of these hidden fleets from her flagship, the Soul's Pride. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her communications officer announced. "Good," Ha-jin replied, watching as her fleet of 30 warships emerged from their hiding places. "The aliens think they are hunting sheep. They are about to learn they are hunting wolves." On Earth's orbital stations, Colonel Bae Min-soo oversaw the activation of the defense grid. Thousands of weapons platforms that had looked like simple satellites were now revealing their true purpose. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a small city. "How long have we been preparing for this?" asked his assistant, Lieutenant. "Oh, Soon-jae. Since the 1990s, Min-soo replied. "Every space mission, every satellite launch, every scientific expedition. We have been building this defense network piece by piece." Dr. Nam Yoon-gi worked in her laboratory, studying the alien communications they had intercepted. As Earth's best expert on alien languages, she had been trying to understand what the approaching fleet was saying to each other. "Admiral," she called. "Soon Min, on her secure line, I have translated more of their messages. They are calling us soft flesh prey. They think we are going to surrender without a fight." "What else?" Sungmin asked. "They have done this before, sir, many times. They have conquered 47 other worlds. But, Admiral, all of those worlds were peaceful. The aliens they conquered had never fought wars against each other." Sungmin smiled grimly. "They have never met humans before. That is what worries me, sir. Every message they send talks about how easy this will be. They expect to land on Earth and have us surrender immediately. They think we are like all the other species they have conquered. Let them think that," Sungmin replied. "The longer they underestimate us, the better." In orbit around Jupiter, Captain Jang Yuna commanded a stealth cruiser that had been disguised as a research station for 15 years. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced sensors Earth had ever built, designed specifically for studying alien technology. "Captain, I am picking up detailed scans of the alien fleet," her sensor officer reported. Their ships are big, but they are not well protected. "It looks like they have never had to defend against serious attacks." "This makes sense," Una replied. "If you have been conquering peaceful worlds for centuries, why would you need heavy armor?" Back on Earth, people watched the news with growing fear. The government had finally announced that an alien fleet was approaching, but they said very little about Earth's plans to defend itself. Most people assumed humanity would try to negotiate or surrender. They had no idea that their planet had been secretly transformed into the most heavily defended world in the galaxy. Hi. Admiral Grixtol of the Corvani fleet was pleased with his progress. His ships were making good time, and his intelligence reports suggested that Earth had only primitive weapons. The humans had not even tried to contact him to discuss surrender terms. "They're probably too frightened to respond," he told his officers. "No matter, we will be there soon enough." "Shall we prepare the standard surrender demands?" asked his communications officer. "Yes, but keep them simple. These humans will probably not understand complex negotiations. We will land, take control of their major cities, and begin selecting the strongest ones for slave labor." Grixtol had conquered so many worlds that he no longer bothered to learn much about them beforehand. This Earth would fall just like all the others. Quick, easy, and profitable. He had no idea that humanity had spent its entire history preparing for war. High Admiral Grixtol felt confident as his massive fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet that would soon be another addition to the Corvani Empire. His officers moved around him, preparing for what they expected to be an easy conquest. "Begin standard scanning procedures," Grixtol ordered. "I want to know how many cities they have and where their leaders are hiding." "Yes, Admiral," replied his sensor officer. "Beginning scans now." But as the Corvani sensors reached out toward Earth, something unexpected happened. The space around the alien fleet suddenly came alive with thousands of bright flashes. Hidden weapons platforms that had been disguised as space debris began firing at once. "What is happening?" Grixtol shouted, as his ship shook from multiple impacts. "Admiral, we are under attack!" his tactical officer screamed. Weapons platforms everywhere. They were hidden throughout the system. Captain Beiminzu watched from his command ship as Earth's defense grid opened fire. He had been waiting 15 years for this moment, and everything was working perfectly. All platforms continue firing. Target their engines first. The Corvani ships were huge and powerful, but they had been built to fight enemies who would face them in open battle. They were not designed to defend against thousands of small hidden weapons firing from every direction. "Admiral, we are losing ships fast," reported Grixtol as communications officer. "The humans have weapons hidden everywhere." From behind Mars, Admiral Yoon Hajin led her hidden fleet into battle. 30 Earth warships that had been disguised as asteroids suddenly appeared on the Corvani sensors, attacking from the side while the defense platforms kept the aliens busy from the front. "All ships execute attack pattern Delta 7, Hajin ordered. "Hit them fast and move away before they can respond." The Soul's Pride fired its main weapons at a Corvani cruiser, punching holes through armor that had never been seriously tested in battle. The alien ship began spinning out of control, leaking atmosphere and debris. "Target destroyed," reported her weapons officer. Moving to next target. Lieutenant Commander Osunje commanded a small destroyer that darted between the massive alien ships like a fish swimming between whales. His ship was tiny compared to the Corvani vessels, but it was fast and hard to hit. "Fire at their communication arrays," he ordered. "If we can stop them from talking to each other, they will not be able to coordinate their attacks." The destroyer's weapons found their mark, and suddenly several Corvani ships found themselves cut off from their fleet's command structure. Without orders, they began firing wildly in all directions, sometimes hitting their own ships by mistake. Captain Jang Yuna's stealth cruiser moved through the battle like a ghost. Her ship was invisible to Corvani sensors, allowing her to get close enough to target the alien ship's most vulnerable points. "Captain, I have a clear shot at their flagship," her weapons officer reported. "Take it," Una replied. "Let's see how their admiral likes being hunted." The stealth cruiser's missiles struck Grixtel's flagship without warning. The bridge shook violently, and several of his officers were thrown to the floor. "How are they hitting us?" Grixtel demanded. "Our sensors show nothing." "Admiral, I think." "They have invisible ships," his tactical officer replied, fear clear in his voice. "Impossible. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy." But even as he spoke, more invisible attacks struck his fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible an hour ago were now burning wrecks floating in space. Fleet Admiral Han Sungmin watched the battle from Earth's command center. Everything was going according to plan. Corvani had expected to find a defenseless world. Instead, they had found a carefully prepared trap. "Sir, we have destroyed 63 enemy ships," reported Major Kim Haijin. "The survivors are trying to retreat to the outer system." "Let them go," Songmin replied, "but keep watching them. This is not over yet." High Admiral Grixtel could not believe what was happening. In one day, he had lost almost half of his fleet to what was supposed to be a primitive world. The humans fought like nothing he had ever seen before. They used tricks and traps instead of honorable battle. They hit and ran instead of standing still to fight. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet." His communications officer reported. "Put it on screen," Grixtel ordered. Admiral Sungmin's face appeared on the Corvani flagship's main screen. He looked calm and confident, not like someone who should be begging for mercy. "I am Fleet Admiral Han Sungmin of Earth's Defense Forces," he said. "You came here expecting to find easy prey? You made one critical mistake?" "What mistake?" Grixtel snarled. "It threatened our home," Sungmin replied. "As humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We have fought each other, learned from every battle, and perfected the art of warfare. You have spent centuries conquering peaceful species who never fought back. Today, you learn the difference." The transmission ended, leaving Grixtel staring. At a blank screen, around him his officers looked frightened and confused. They had never been defeated before. They did not know what to do. "Admiral, what are your orders?" asked his tactical officer. Grixtel looked out at the wreckage of his once mighty fleet. For the first time in his long military career, he was not sure what to do next. The hunters had become the hunted, and he did not know how to be prey. General Park Jae-an stood in the briefing room aboard Earth's newest warship, the Inchen Victory. The ship had been built using technology captured from the Corvani fleet, combining human engineering with alien power systems. Around the table sat the commanders of Earth's first interstellar military force. "The alien survivors have retreated to their base in the Centauri system," Jaeon explained, pointing to the star map. "Our intelligence shows they are calling for reinforcements from their home empire." Captain Kim Haijin, now promoted to lead the engineering division, showed the group her latest work. "We have successfully reverse-engineered their hyperspace engines. Our ships can now travel between star systems in days instead of years." "What about their weapons?" asked Colonel Oh Seung-jae. "Even better," Hajin replied with a smile. "Their energy weapons are powerful, but they are designed for fighting enemies who stand still and fight honorably. We have modified them to work with our hit-and-run tactics." The human fleet that left Earth's solar system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ships looked strange, combining sleek human designs with bulky alien technology. But they worked perfectly together, creating vessels that were both fast and deadly. Major Lee Sora commanded one of the new hybrid destroyers. Her ship, the Busan Thunder, was testing the new weapon systems as they approached the first Corvani outpost. "Target acquired," her weapons officer reported. Corvani supply depot, defended by 12 ships. "Fire," Sora ordered. The human weapons, powered by alien energy cores, struck the Corvani ships before they could even detect the attack. The battle was over in minutes, with the alien defenders destroyed and their supplies captured. "This is too easy," Sora muttered. "They fight like they have never been challenged before." She was right. The Corvani Empire had grown comfortable after centuries of easy victories. Their military tactics had not changed in over 400 years because they had never needed to change. Every enemy they faced used the same strategy: Meet them in open battle and hope for the best. High Admiral Grixtel received reports of the human attacks from his temporary base on the planet Corvani Prime. Each message brought worse news. Human ships were striking at supply lines across 3 different star systems. Weapons depots were being destroyed. Transport ships were disappearing. How are they moving so fast? He demanded from his intelligence officer. Admiral, we believe they are using our own hyperspace technology against us, came the reply. They must have captured it from our destroyed ships. Impossible. Our technology is too advanced for primitives to understand. But even as he spoke, another message arrived. The humans had attacked a major fuel depot in the Vega system, destroying enough supplies to power 50 warships. Captain Choi Daeho led a special forces team aboard a captured Corvani command ship. His mission was to gather intelligence about the alien empire's military structure. What he found surprised him. General, you need to see this, he reported to Park Jae-on over the secure communication link. The Corvani have detailed records of every world they have conquered. 47 different species, and they all followed the same pattern. What pattern, Jae-on asked? First contact, demand for surrender, peaceful resistance, then conquest. Every single species tried to negotiate. None of them fought back effectively. About their military records? That is the interesting part, sir. The Corvani have not fought a real war in over 600 years. Every battle in their database shows the same thing. They arrive, the enemy tries to talk, they attack, the enemy surrenders. This information changed everything. Earth's military leaders realized they were not fighting an experienced enemy. They were fighting bullies who had never faced serious resistance. Admiral Yoon Ha-jin used this knowledge to plan her next attack. Instead of hitting military targets, she decided to strike at the heart of Corvani confidence. We are going to attack their capital system, she announced to her fleet commanders. Not to destroy it, but to show them they are not safe anywhere. The human fleet appeared in the Corvani home system like ghosts. They struck at orbital facilities, destroyed communication satellites, and captured several government officials. Before disappearing back into hyperspace, the effect on Corvani morale was devastating. If the humans could reach their capital world, nowhere in the Empire was safe. High Admiral Grixtel found himself in an impossible situation. His forces were being defeated by enemies who refused to fight fair. The humans used tricks, ambushes, and psychological warfare. They attacked when least expected and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Admiral, we have lost contact with 17 outposts in the last week, his communications officer reported. The humans are not just destroying our bases. They are freeing the slaves and turning them against us.
Oh.
This was the worst news yet. The Corvani Empire depended on slave labor from conquered worlds. If those slaves started fighting back with human weapons and training, the Empire would collapse from within. What do our tactical experts recommend? Grixtel asked. They say we should negotiate, Admiral. The humans are too dangerous to fight. Grixtel stared at his officer in shock. Negotiate? The Corvani had never negotiated with anyone. They gave orders and expected obedience. But now, the first time in their history, they were facing an enemy who was better at war than they were. The price of underestimating humanity was becoming clear, and it might cost them everything. Fleet Admiral Han Sunmin stood on the bridge of his flagship as it orbited the Corvani capital world. Around the planet, hundreds of human warships waited in perfect formation. The once mighty Corvani Empire had been reduced to this single world in just 6 months of warfare. Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the planet's surface, reported Communications Officer Park Sun-ho. Appears to be from their government. Put it on screen, Sumen ordered. The image that appeared showed a group of alien officials in what looked like a grand meeting hall. At their center stood High Admiral Grixtel, the same Corvani commander who had once confidently planned to conquer Earth. Now he looked tired and defeated. Admiral Sungmin of Earth, Grixtel began, his voice heavy with resignation. We wish to discuss terms. Terms? Min replied. You came to our world planning to enslave our people. You have done the same to 47 other species. What terms could you possibly offer? We surrender, Grixtal said simply. The Corvani Empire officially surrenders to the forces of Earth. We will dissolve our government and submit to whatever punishment you decide. Around the bridge, human officers looked at each other in amazement. The war that had started with an accidental distress signal was finally over. Captain Kim Gi-won, the archaeologist whose discovery had started everything, now worked as Earth's coordinator for liberated worlds. She stood in the former Corvani slave center on the planet Altair 4, watching as thousands of freed prisoners prepared to return to their home worlds. Captain called Dr. Nam Yoonji, who had become Earth's expert on alien languages and cultures. The Zentari delegation wants to thank you personally. A group of tall, blue-skinned aliens approached Juwon, their leader, who had been a slave for over 20 years, spoke in broken English. You humans, he said, you gave us back our freedom. Our children will know your names forever. Juwon felt tears in her eyes. We only did what was right. No one should live as slaves. Colonel Yoon Ha-jan commanded the first human patrol fleet. Tasked with protecting the trade routes that had once been controlled by Corvani pirates, her ships moved through space like guardians, ensuring that the smaller species could travel safely between worlds. Colonel, we are receiving a distress call from the Rigel system, her communications officer reported. A group calling themselves the Iron Claw Alliance is attacking civilian ships. Set course for Rigel, Ha-jin ordered. Maximum speed. The Iron Claw Alliance was made up of former Corvani officers who refused to accept their empire's surrender. They had turned to piracy, attacking defenseless merchant ships and enslaving their crews. When Hagen's fleet arrived at Rigel, they found 3 human-sized ships attacking a large passenger vessel filled with alien families. This is Colonel Yoon Ha-jin of Earth Fleet 1. She broadcast on all frequencies. You will stop your attack immediately and surrender. The pirate leader responded with insults and threats, clearly not understanding who he was dealing with. The battle lasted less than 10 minutes. The pirate ships were either destroyed or captured, and the civilian vessel was saved. Thank you, Earth ships, the passenger vessel's captain transmitted. How can we repay you? No payment needed, Ha-jin replied. Safe travels. Captain Lee Sora worked with the newly formed Galactic Protection Alliance, helping former slave worlds rebuild their governments and military forces. On the planet Kepler 186b, she trained local defenders in human military tactics. Remember, she told her alien students, the key to victory is not having the biggest weapons. It is knowing how to use what you have, former slaves learned. Quickly, they had lived under Corvani rule and knew how their former masters thought. Combined with human tactical knowledge, they became effective defenders of their own worlds. General Park Jae-yoon established Earth's first permanent base outside the solar system on the former Corvani military world of Vega 7. The base served as headquarters for human peacekeeping forces throughout the galaxy. Sir, we have requests for assistance from 12 different worlds this week, reported his aide, Major Bae Minsu. Pirates in the Centauri sector, slave traders near Arcturus, and reports of a new hostile species in the outer colonies. Send patrol fleets to all locations, Jae-in ordered. We made a promise to protect these worlds, and we will keep it. Dr. Nam Yoonji worked to establish the Universal Translator Project, creating communication devices that would allow all species to talk to each other without language barriers. In her laboratory on Earth, she studied the languages of dozens of different alien species. If we can help everyone understand each other, she explained to her research team, maybe we can prevent future wars. High Admiral Grixtol lived quietly on a small farming colony, working in the fields like any other resident. The former commander of the Corvani Empire had been given a choice: face trial for war crimes, or spend his life helping to rebuild one. Of the worlds his forces had destroyed, he had chosen to help rebuild. Every day, he worked alongside former slaves, growing food to feed the hungry. It was hard work, but honest work. For the first time in his life, he was creating something instead of destroying it. The galaxy had changed. Where once the Corvani Empire had ruled through fear, human fleets now patrolled to keep the peace. The cry for help that had started on a distant archaeological Dig had become a promise that echoed across the stars. No world would face extinction alone while Earth stood watch.